Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we are headed back down to Fraggle Rock as we start to watch and discuss Season 3 with the first 3 episodes titled The Bells of Fraggle Rock, Red-Handed and the Invisible Thief, and Boober and the Glob.
Do we officially leave 1984 behind in this episode?
This is the transition point. This is it.
Okay.
We are leaving 1984 behind. But we also watched a few other things that Sam will tell us about in just a little while of some other 1985 Muppet appearances. And we should mention at the top, if you're watching Fraggle Rock along with us and you're watching it on Apple TV+, there are some episodes coming up, including in this batch, that seem to be in the wrong order. I don't know who we call to complain about that. So when we say the names of the episodes, be on the lookout for the names, not the numbers, because if you just go from the end of season 2 and start watching, you will get Red-Handed and the Invisible Thief as your next episode, because The Bells of Fraggle Rock is buried at the end of season 3 on Apple TV+.
Then I accidentally watched a couple minutes of Sprocket's Great Adventure, which is the one after Bells of Fraggle Rock. You got to really be on your toes.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit annoying. Not quite as annoying as when we were watching The Muppet Show and jumping all around every single week. But yeah, it seems like there's some dates that are messed up because on Apple TV+ they show the original air date underneath the thing, and they have the wrong year for the Bells of Fraggle Rock, which I think is what maybe slotted it into the wrong spot.
Because it came out Christmas 84.
Right, and they put it as Christmas 85.
Christmas 85. Fools.
Yeah, and then they have a couple episodes that are from January 86, I believe, as the end of season 3, when they're really the beginning of season 4. And so, yeah, there's going to be some confusion if you're just watching straight through on Apple TV+. But we will always let you know the titles of the episodes we're going to watch, so you can watch along with us. And after today's batch of episodes, we are not only going to be done with 1984, but we're also going to be officially 51 episodes into the 96 episodes of Fraggle Rock, putting us more than halfway done with Fraggle Rock. I don't want to be done.
It feels like we just started, kind of.
Yeah, I don't think I want it to be done because I've kind of forgot how good it is.
Yeah, and then we're just stuck with the babies.
And then we have a lot of babies for a long time. But yeah, the last time we talked about Fraggle Rock was all the way back in June. Remember June, Sam?
No, I genuinely don't remember June.
It seems like it was a much longer time ago than that we talked about Fraggle Rock, but no.
It does. We saw each other in real life, and you said it was hard to get back into Fraggle Rock because it has actual plots and characters with different motivations and stuff.
Yeah.
It really taxes the old brain.
It was a little bit more taxing of a watching experience. Muppet Babies, I have no problem watching that show, taking notes. I don't feel like I'm missing anything along the way.
Yeah.
I had to pause these episodes a lot more.
Wandering away, getting a sandwich.
Yeah, falling asleep, waking up, being like, oh, we're still doing this. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, with Fraggle Rock, I had to pause the episodes and rewind and be like, what did I miss? Hold on. What you just said?
Wait, I don't understand this character interaction. It was just Red being like, I'm sorry. This is too much for me. Too heady.
I had to grow up, is what happened. I had to switch my brain from 3 to 4-year-old to a solid 12-year-old. I think
12. Yeah, about 12.
Yeah, not all the way to 35 yet, but solidly up to 12. But I did want to give us a little preview of what's coming up in 1985 as our timelines are ever slowly approaching each other, because we're currently talking about things that are 38 years in the past, and we'll be talking about 1985 for the rest of 2023, which means in early 2024, we'll still be talking about 1985, which will put us back to 39 years in the past.
Oh, no. I don't want to hear that.
So our it's a little parallel shifting at the same time kind of thing for a while there. We will, catch back up to that 38 years behind. So, yeah, a couple decades, we'll be all caught up, Sam.
Ugh.
But we have exciting things in 1985 to talk about. We have, of course, Fraggle Rock Season 3. In August of 1985, Follow That Bird gets released, so we'll be talking about that. Muppet Babies Season 2 begins in September of 1985. Little Muppet Monsters also starts in September of 1985 and airs for 3 episodes before getting canceled.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Just 3?
Yep.
How could you even draw a conclusion after 3 episodes?
I mean, if the ratings were that bad, I don't know. We'll maybe find out some more information about it when we get to talking about it, but that won't be until November, I think we're talking about that one.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we've got Sesame Street Season 17, where Mr. Snuffleupagus is finally revealed, and Hoots the Owl debuts in Season 17. Then we have the Jim Henson Presents the World of Puppetry miniseries. They are working on more Muppet Meeting films, which we've already watched, but they're still out there making them. And in October of 1985, the movie Dream Child comes out, which we will also be talking about near the end of this year. But out of those new projects coming up, which ones are you looking most forward to watching, Sam?
I'm morbidly curious about Little Muppet Monsters. Is there more of it that exists that didn't air?
Yeah, so there's 3 episodes in full that aired, but there's a lot of other stuff on archive.org that did not air but has come out through the years. Follow That Bird is definitely high up there for me just because I've heard so many good things and I don't think I've ever seen it. I'm also morbidly curious about Little Muppet Monsters just because from just the stills and small clips I've seen, it seems good.
It seems like it's going to be fine.
But
it's like, who could have such a qualm with these Little Muppet Monsters?
And I'm curious about these Jim Henson Presents the World of Puppetry miniseries because...
You put me off those. You said that they were bad.
I don't know that they're bad. They might be boring.
Yeah.
Because it's Jim being the nerdiest version of Jim talking about his love of puppetry done by other people.
We have to be more open-minded about puppetry, maybe. You think?
I mean, yes, probably. I feel like being open-minded about more things in general is probably a good idea.
But I have a bad feeling we're going to see that drunk puppet again.
But maybe we'll have context this time, and we'll understand,
Maybe.
like, this is actually a bold political statement against the USSR, and here's what this means. You're like, oh. As opposed to just like 5 seconds of
yeah.
it slurring its words.
Jim's going to be telling us stuff.
Presumably. I assume he narrates these.
I hope so.
I know nothing about them, honestly. I still have to track them down and make sure we can actually watch them. I think they're on Canopy, which we've had issues with in the past. But I think you can get them on Amazon maybe. So we will track them down, I think, around in November as well. I think we're talking about those.
The series is available for streaming on Shout Factory TV.
All right.
So I think we'll be okay.
I got to figure out which one that is and download it. Well, Sam, now's as good a time as any to ask you, what did we watch this week?
First, we watched The Bells of Fraggle Rock, which aired December 24th, 1984. It's the winter solstice, which means it's the holiday season for many cultures around and inside of the world. While Doc teaches Sprocket about a variety of human holidays, down in Fraggle Rock, the Fraggles are preparing for the Festival of the Bells, a yearly celebration during which the Fraggles must ring bells to keep the Great Bell at the center of the rock ringing so that the rock doesn't slow down and freeze solid. But this year, Gobo has a bee in his bonnet about the whole thing. No one's ever seen the Great Bell, so how do they know that it's even there and that they have to go through this whole rigmarole every year? Maybe the rock would be fine even if they didn't do the ceremony. Cantus the minstrel shows up to lead the Fraggles in the ceremony, but Gobo interrupts and says that he's going to go find the Great Bell and bring it back if it's real so that they'll all know if this is a big waste of time or not. The Fraggles agree to wait for him to come back, but shit is getting very cold. Gobo finds the chamber of the Great Bell and opens it, but there's nothing inside of it. Cantus has followed Gobo and he confronts him and tells him that the legend doesn't necessarily say that the bell is in the center of the rock, but in the heart of the rock. But Gobo thinks this whole thing is a big lie, so he goes back to tell everybody, only to find that all of the Fraggles are frozen solid. Cantus tries again to tell Gobo the whole heart of the rock thing, and somewhere along the way, one of them starts ringing a bell, and the Fraggles begin to stir. As they wake up and ring their bells, the cave warms, and the true meaning of Cantus's teaching is known. The heart of the rock is the Fraggles, whose music keeps the rock alive. The moral? Maybe the real power of faith is its ability to bring people together, even if the thing that you have faith in isn't, strictly speaking, real? Would that be your interpretation of the moral?
Yeah, I think there's basically what it is. And I think there's also something of the like, Gobo, stop being a dick.
He was being a huge dick.
He comes across like a shitty college atheist.
It's also like, you do so many things that waste time that you have to dance around and sing songs. Why is this one the one that you're complaining about? Oh, I don't know. Next, we watched Red-Handed and the Invisible Thief, which aired January 7th, 1985. Red wakes up to find that all of her radish bars have disappeared, so she sets a trap that night to catch the thief, but come morning, the bars are gone and the trap is empty. Night after night, the same thing happens, leading Red to believe that perhaps Moki, who's seen Red set up all of the traps, is the thief. Red formally accuses Moki and brings her before the Venerable and Eminent Council of Sages, which is basically just a court, but the Fraggles on the council dismiss her case due to lack of evidence and convict Red for false accusation. Red swears that she's right, so she sets up one more trap. She marks some radish bars with soap that turns red in water and sets them out. Then she'll dip Moki's hand in water, it'll turn red, and there's the proof. Red has Wembley help her stake out the trap, but Red ends up falling asleep somewhere along the way. The next day, Red brings Moki back to court and dips her hand in the water, but it doesn't turn red. Then she notices that her own hands are red, at which point Wembley tells Red that she sleepwalked over to the bars in the middle of the night and ate them all. Red apologizes to Moki, and everybody's like, cool, let's go get lunch. Meanwhile, up in outer space, Doc sees some suspicious characters moving furniture out of the inn and calls the cops on them, but they just end up being relatives of Miss Ardath's. The moral? I suppose it's sometimes you need to trust people, but this is kind of a tough case for Red, to be fair. It's like nobody's expecting them own selves sleepwalking to be the culprit. Finally, we watched Boober and the Glob, air date January 14th, 1985. It's Joke Day at Fraggle Rock, a day when everybody has to tell jokes, and Boober fucking hates Joke Day. So instead of staying and suffering through it, he decides to skip town and lay low. On his way out of Fraggle Rock, he trips over Cotterpin Doozer, and they get in a little tiff, which ends when a giant pink blob monster rolls out at them. They run away, but both find their way back to the blob out of morbid curiosity, it seems like. And the Glob doesn't really seem so bad, but Cotterpin starts noticing that her friends are going missing and eventually discovers that the Glob is eating Doozers. She's so tiny that she can't really do anything about it, so she asks Boober for help, but he's too preoccupied with trying to get away from Joke Day. Eventually, the Glob eats Cotterpin and her mom, and Boober can't ignore the situation anymore. He and the Fraggles get together to try to help, but nothing they can think of works until Boober accidentally tells a joke, which makes the Glob laugh uncontrollably. Boober keeps telling jokes until the Glob pukes up the Doozers, and that's the end of that. Up in outer space, Doc has to write a book about cats for some reason.
An article.
Or something? Oh, it's just an article?
Yeah.
So he borrows Ned Schimmelfinny's cat. What's her name? Fluffinella. And it just really goes crazy on Sprocket.
Pretty much beats up Sprocket the entire episode.
Yeah, beats the shit. I kind of think ends up beating the shit out of both of them. And then Doc's like, sorry, I won't let research get in the way of our friendship anymore. A weird thing to say. But the moral, I guess, overall is being a coward and avoiding getting involved can often cause more problems than it solves. Then we watched a grab bag of stuff from 1985 that we couldn't find a specific date for. Rolf and Eddie Albert tell you where to write to get tips on wildlife conservation from the National Wildlife Federation. We watched a commercial for The Muppet Show on Tour, 2nd edition, which somehow was the most boring thing we watched, and it was only 30 seconds long. Steve Edwards interviews Jim about his 30-year-long career. We get to see some great behind-the-scenes footage from Muppets Take Manhattan. There are a couple kind of sad and poignant moments where Jim is like, I'm going to do Kermit until I'm an old man, and we'll meet here again in 30 years. Finally, we watched Piggy and Anne Murray on a special possibly called Sounds of London. They're hanging out in a wax museum, and then they talk about all the musical superstars that Piggy had flings with before they burst into a couple of duets, the second one being about how great Piggy is. And then when that one's over, Anne Murray has turned into a wax sculpture for some reason, and that's it.
The only thing that really came up in Jim's Red Book in his journal during this time is actually from December 23rd, 1984. And he wrote entire family to Tortola, an island in the British Virgin Islands, for Christmas. So he took the whole family there for Christmas and then spent New Year's Eve with his dad in North Carolina.
Also, not too much stuff happened in the real world because it's January.
We're barely dipping our toe into January 1985 here.
Yeah. But VH1 begins airing in the United States.
Oh, dang.
So there's that.
Is it? It's gone now, right?
I don't know. All of those channels are just like basically zombies of what they used to be.
Yeah,
That just play,
VH1, the
like-
first result here, their big tagline when you search for them on Google says VH1, celebrity reality television series.
Yeah.
So I think most of them have switched over to reality television at this point.
Well, then there's on MTV, they just play ridiculousness over and over again.
Yeah.
You know?
So
Which is just internet videos, I think.
yeah, interesting.
Back in our day.
Back in our day, they played music on MTV.
Yeah, they really did, and it was cool.
And right now, we're in the era of when they started playing music on MTV and VH1, clearly.
They gave out awards for Best Kiss.
I think
Things like that.
they might have the MTV Movie Awards still.
Oh, it's just like ridiculousness for 364.9 hours of days of the year, and then they do the MTV Movie Awards.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think they do still do
Yeah,
that.
because the award for Best Kiss went to Outer Banks, which I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
It seems like
Isn't it wild to be a corporation and you just have like a whole TV station and you're like, I don't even know what to do with this. Because let's just put one show on it.
Outer Banks seems to be a Netflix TV series. So good job on your Good Kiss, guys. Best movie of the year, according to the MTV Movie Awards.
Uh-huh.
Drum roll, please. Scream 6.
What?
Yep.
I wonder who produced Scream 6.
The guy who owns MTV. But yeah, let's talk real quick about some of these really short things we watched.
Paramount Pictures, parent company of VH1.
Only Viacom products are allowed to win the awards at the MTV Movie Awards. Allegedly, I'll say, so we don't get sued.
That's what we heard. Somebody just told us that.
But first up, we have the National Wildlife Federation spot. There is not much to say because we didn't hear much. This is a 10-second version.
So straightforward. Mm-hmm.
There is a longer musical version out there, apparently, that we do.
But you didn't find that one.
No, there's a screenshot on Muppet Wiki from it, but it involves Rolf playing piano, and maybe it's delightful, but we don't get to know.
I bet it is. That's too bad.
Maybe we'll find
it someday. Yeah. It's out there on somebody's parents' VHS where they taped,
Or there's somebody who, contributes to Muppet Wiki who's listening to this right now going, I got you guys. I'll send you a link. Then we watched the clip promoting the Muppet Show on Tour 2nd edition, which is just, cameras moving down a hallway towards a dressing room door and says, one of the most dynamic personalities ever to grace the stage. And Miss Piggy opens the door and blows us a kiss.
A human dressed like Miss Piggy.
Well, yes.
It's not the real Miss Piggy.
No, it's the stage version of Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
And then we get to see her dressed up as, sort of the Statue of Liberty, just celebrating America from the live show tour thing.
Kind of just standing there. They're all just kind of standing there.
But there is one line in there that fascinated me. The narrator says, see Miss Piggy and the living, breathing, dancing, singing Muppets.
Oh, that washed over me, but that's creepy. I don't like that.
We've got the living Muppets here.
Yeah. I don't want to think about them breathing.
Yeah. Living, breathing, dancing, singing Muppets.
Rapping. They're rapping
Yeah.
as well. What's the 2nd edition? Is that just like the second tour, or did they make changes? Do you know?
Looking at Muppet Wiki, it seems like they changed some things up, but don't worry, the Flying Zucchini Brothers were still there.
They were featured in the commercial, so.
Yeah. There is a nice picture on Muppet Wiki of Kermit in a Michael Jackson costume because he performed Beat It.
Something I've been wondering about this stage show. Kermit's dressed in that little suit, his little outfit.
Yeah.
Is that from the comic strip? Like, is that where that outfit originated? Or is that like Muppets, Great Muppet Caper or something like that?
It might be just a general design they've had for Kermit in the background. And it could have been a thing where they designing that costume for the live show and then it ended up in the comic strip. We'd have to get Michael Frith on the line, I think, probably to be able to ask him about that.
Right. But yeah, I feel like they probably made a big naked Kermit. I probably said this already, and then looked at him and thought, big naked Kermit's not going to work.
Yeah, we can't have naked Muppets. I guess Fozzie's naked, I think, when he's rapping. So
yeah, that's
allowed.
He's got a hat and a tie. He has 2 articles of clothing on. They could have given Kermit a pair of brief underwear and some shoes.
Just Walter Whiting it out there. That's way worse than him just being naked.
Yeah. Especially the shoes for some reason. Like, why? Why now do you have
I pictured like
shoes?
big leather work boots, like untied.
Oh, gross. Yeah. Like you found them in the swamp.
Yeah, but he had to slip them on real quick because he's like, shit, I gotta go on. Well, getting that image out of our head, let's move on to Jim Henson being interviewed by Steve Edwards, a man who I think was just in the news, a newscaster for a very long time.
Maybe an local LA guy.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite figure it out either.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what this clip is from as far as what program it was originally on. But yeah, mostly it's just a little recap of Jim Henson because they're celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Muppets. He talks to Jim about Kermit coming from his mom's old coat. They show Sam and Friends visual thinking clips. And they talk about, again, how Jim basically got into TV just because he wanted to get into TV and puppets were an afterthought.
Yeah.
And as they say, like, if they needed a weatherman that day, and he's like, yeah, I'd probably be sitting here celebrating my 30th anniversary as a weatherman. Well, then we get the question of, could you hand Kermit off to someone new? And Jim says, maybe when I'm an old man.
But do you think he always in his head was like, if something happens, I got to pass this off? Or maybe not. Maybe you just think if I go away, Kermit's gone. Like,
that's kind of my guess is that, it's interesting to track, like, the trajectory of Muppets because you think about in the early days how Muppets were just sort of this general term and characters would come and go. Some would be the new star. They would go away. Sorry, Nigel. And then, like, they hit the Muppet Show and they're like, all right, we can never add any more Muppets to this group or people will hate them.
Yeah.
And so something about solidifying that is interesting because I do feel like that wasn't the original idea behind the Muppets, but it became the idea behind the Muppets. And I think that's something that is sort of feels like it bubbles up more in interviews these days where almost every character now, except for Dave Goelz's characters, are performed by a different person than they originally were.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those people are thinking like, yeah, some new characters might be fun to perform that we're not just trying to like impersonate or put our own spin on an old character.
Yeah. And it's not like it doesn't work. We got Pepe, we got Rizzo, basically. We got Bobo. People love those guys.
And we got Penny in Muppets Mayhem.
Oh, yeah.
So we've done it recently. We got Dr. Teeth's parents in Muppets Mayhem. You can add new Muppets, but it's just about, people are still always clamoring of like, okay, but where's Animal? You got to give me that animal.
Yeah. The Poochie of the Muppet world. Kind of is, isn't he?
Animal?
Who's the poochiest one?
Well, depends. Are we talking about bringing in a new character to spice things up, or are we talking about a cool character?
We're talking about, two different things.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring you off topic. One, Poochie, were Poochie successful? A character who actually, when Poochie's not around, everybody's like, where's Poochie? Two would be Poochie as shown by The Simpsons, an attempt to add a cool new character that flopped.
So I would say the idea of a working Poochie, which the more I say the word Poochie, doesn't sound like a real word, is maybe Rizzo at this point.
Oh, yes.
Especially like around the Christmas Carol times, everyone's like, fucking A, love this Rizzo. Yeah, and then now
Rizzo
everyone's
rules.
like, but where's Rizzo?
Where's Rizzo? Yeah.
You're
right.
But I think maybe Walter is a more realistic Poochie.
That's exactly who I thought too.
Of like, hey, everyone, here's a brand new Muppet. You're going to love him. We based a whole movie around him. Oh, bye, Walter. You get to play an extra in Muppets Haunted Mansion, though.
Yeah, he still gets to be there, but it's not really clear why.
Yeah, him and Salmonella are like the same line on the casting sheet or whatever.
Oh, right. The monkey friend of...
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Precisely.
I do love that guy, but yeah.
Well, getting back to this Jim interview, we then get to see a brief clip of Kermit being interviewed, once again, with a lav mic on his collar.
Lav, yeah.
Which is always adorable. And this is when we get to see behind-the-scenes clips from Muppets Take Manhattan throughout this. There's not a lot that are really, eye-opening. You see anything that you really be surprised by. But you do get to see Frank underneath the nursery room floor performing baby Miss Piggy in the fantasy sequence.
And you get to see Jim being scooted around on a little what I don't even know what you call that. Yeah, he's got the little thing you can lay on and get rolled around. That looks fun.
Probably more for mechanics than anything.
Probably, you're right.
Creeper. So
it's called a creeper?
That's what they're called for the mechanics, like the long ones you can lay down on.
Oh, okay. He's on a creeper.
Yeah, but probably a purposefully built puppeteering creeper.
Yeah. But I love seeing this stuff. Did we get I can't remember, did we get a deep behind the scenes Great Muppet or Muppets Take Manhattan thing?
No, we got a little, I feel like a 5-minute something of a behind the scenes visiting the set of it kind of thing from CBS News or something. But I don't think we got this good of a look at it. But who knows? There is a new Blu-ray they just announced coming out soon, a 4K transfer of it with a new commentary from Frank Oz, which is amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so maybe there'll be some more information on that we can glean and learn some more about Muppets Take Manhattan.
Are we gonna do a segment on that?
Only if Frank agrees to come on the podcast.
Oh yeah, now we're playing hardball.
Yeah.
You want those big Blu-ray sales, Frank? You know where to come.
Oh, you can just stay home and probably get the same numbers. That's fine.
You could do one tweet and, shut up, man.
But in this interview, Jim goes on to say, I love doing what I do. I can't imagine anyone else having as much fun in their work as I do. And then Steve Edwards talks about, well, how about 30 years from now, we meet back here again? And Jim says, I'll probably still be doing Kermit.
I can think of people who have more fun doing stuff than what he's doing. I feel like it's the other Muppet
Richard
people
Hunt
who work for him. Yeah, because he gets to do what Jim does without any of the horrible, stupid things that Jim probably hates doing, or maybe loves doing, but he just gets to be a puppeteer all the time.
And the last other thing we watched this week was Miss Piggy appearing on Anne Murray, The Sounds of London, a special written by Mr. Alan Thicke.
What? Why?
I guess Canadians stick together.
Yeah, I suppose. But why were they in London? The sounds of Toronto.
I think, and this could be extremely wrong, but in looking at this special, from what I was able to find online, to me this comes across as an Anne Murray trying to be cool special, and trying to keep up with the times special. There's a medley of music that she performs in the middle of it, where she's covering a bunch of really popular songs from the Police and Culture Club and the Rolling Stones, I think.
Yeah.
And they intercut it with music videos of those bands, but they are not there with her. So it makes it look how cool, she's with the Police or the Rolling Stones. But really it's just, hey, Anne Murray, who was really popular in the 70s, is kind of going out of favor and seen as uncool. How do we make her cool? How about we stick her in our wax museum with Miss Piggy?
Yeah, a wax museum to talk about old royalty of England.
Yeah.
And John McEnroe, who I guess probably was cool at this point.
He's probably the coolest amongst that group.
But also kids love a wax museum. Hell yeah.
Yeah, this starts off with Madame Tussauds wax museum, presumably in Toronto or somewhere.
But they're not in London?
Oh, you're right. It's called Sounds of London. Good job, Sam. That was a test. But yes, they see Henry VIII and Churchill. They say Henry VIII had a way with women and Churchill had a way with words, which one of those things is a joke. And then it's weird. Anne Murray talks to Miss Piggy. That at first she's asking what rock stars did you help with their career, but then it turns into what rock stars did you date?
Yeah, the whole it doesn't really turn into that. It's just understood that that's somehow what they're talking about.
Well, because she says I've helped almost everyone out with their careers, and Anne Murray goes, David Bowie, and she's like, oh, not him. Name somebody else. And she goes, Elton John, and she's like, no, I didn't help him either. And then they go, the Dick Clark 5, and she's like, I dated 4 of them. And that's when the switch flips into, now we're talking about dating, because then she says she kissed Mick Jagger. So, also, Dick Clark 5, if you're going to talk about cool, hip bands in the 80s.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Don't bring up the Dick Clark 5, Anne Murray.
Dave Clark 5.
Oh, I thought it was Dick Clark. Who's Dave? His brother?
He's just the drummer of the band.
The drummer got his name in the band?
Oh, he was the drummer and the manager. So that's why he got his name in the band.
Well, this is when they sing Just Another Woman in Love together.
Yeah, I guess that now that you say that, they had to talk about dating so that they could sing this song.
Yes, now there are two terrible segues in this section. This is the first of getting to Just Another Woman in Love. And then after they do that, there's just there's a montage of Muppet clips of Piggy just doing things. And then afterwards, they just suddenly start talking about winning awards, listing off Oscars, Emmys, Tonys, all this stuff. And this transitions into another song just about accepting awards that seems to be an original song. It's about time we should probably start talking about Fraggle Rock today, Sam. Kicking off season 3 with The Bells of Fraggle Rock on December 24th, 1984. All the other Fraggle Rock seasons begin in January, except this one, which began early so that this episode could air before Christmas.
Yes. Did they make it? Do you know the production order?
Oh, no idea.
Okay.
But this episode was repeated each year at Christmas time on HBO. And apparently, back in 2018, according to Muppet Wiki, this episode was also paired with Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas for a series of screenings through Fathom events.
Oh, that sounds like a fun thing to do. This is a great Christmas special. I feel like it's a great non-denominational Christmas special that also works for people who don't believe in anything, because they basically are like, Cantus is like, yeah, it's not real. It doesn't really matter, though.
Yeah, they did another...
We're having fun.
They did another good holiday special this past year for Back to the Rock called Night of the Lights, which is another good Fraggle Rock holiday special to add to your yearly rotation of holiday specials.
They just got multiple Christmas stand-ins down in Fraggle Rock.
I mean, that's one of my gripes is a strong word with Fraggle Rock. But it seems like every day is a holiday and they never repeat anything. There's different systems for courts, special councils. The world's oldest Fraggle is sometimes important to that process. Other times it's not. So it's just...
Because they've been to court before. I don't remember why, but they have.
Yeah, in that same room, I believe, with like the cave overlooking the hall. And so it's interesting to me when things do and do not stick in Fraggle Rock lore. And when they're just like, all right, time for that other holiday we always celebrate. Or here's how if we don't sing, the lights all go out in Fraggle Rock. But if we don't ring our bells, we all freeze to death.
Yeah.
And if we don't do this, we fall asleep.
They have a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah, they don't really realize until shit goes wrong.
Yeah. That basically they have to only do exactly what they're already doing, or else their whole world will fall apart. Right. Which is not really fair.
And a little bit of like, don't step out of line or we all die.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fraggle Rock is great. I missed it. It is interesting to not have any Gorgs or Trash Heap in this batch of episodes. But this episode is written by Jerry Jewell, Jocelyn Stevenson, and Susan Jewell.
They got the whole crew in there.
And directed by Douglas Williams, who I feel like I may be mentioning this before, because he directed an episode before. Also directed the 1985 TV movie Overdrawn at the Memory Bank, starring Raul Julia.
Mystery Science Theater movie.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I mentioned that before. But this episode opens up in Doc's workshop, which is all decorated for Christmas on December 21st. And I noted in my notes, in a few years, they'll be spending Christmas with the Muppets.
Yeah.
But Doc is going to teach Sprocket about the solstice, and that's sort of the setup for their part of this episode. And really, it's a pretty high-level concept he's trying to explain to a dog here, but Sprocket, obviously smarter than the average dog.
We've done it on SciShow Kids, and Sprocket is at least has more than a second-grade understanding of the world, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say based on some other things that happen in this batch, he's a pretty smart dog, knows how to react to situations properly. Well, down in Fraggle Rock, it is icy, and it's apparently time for the Festival of the Bells.
Have you ever seen it icy down there before?
No,
because they were skating, but they were skating on like grease or something.
Right, yeah. They had leaves and grease, and they were sliding across things, but I don't think it's been icy. Because it seems like icy is bad, because the world is going to stop.
Yeah. They all know it's going to end. Like, they all know that the world is about to end, and they're very calm about it. I guess because they know how to fix it.
It's like, it's never ended before because we always ring our bells. So as long as we ring our bells.
But they really do just wake up one day, and it's like, you all could die today. And they're just like, all right, let's get out there and get ringing then.
Wembley comes to get Gobo for the Weeba Beast rehearsal, and we get to meet seasonal depression Gobo.
Oh,
He's very down on just everything. Nothing seems like it's a good time to him, and he's just... Basically, we get a lot of, what's the point from Gobo?
Yeah. My biggest qualm with this episode maybe is that Gobo seems like the most true believer in the ways of the Fraggles of any of them, I would say. Like, he's a traditionalist, I feel like. And he's down to believe any legend or anything and just go out looking for it. But I guess you're right. I guess he's just going through a tough time right now.
But we do get to see the Weeba Beast costume as they perform Weeba Weeba. And it's a really cool looking costume.
Yeah, it's great.
It's sort of...
I was kind of sad we didn't get to see a real Weeba Beast at some point.
I thought it was setting up for that near the end. But it's a fantastic looking costume. We get shots from the inside of the costume, which are really well done and interesting. And it reminds me of like a little bit of, like the Chinese New Year dragon parade costumes, where it's like 5 people underneath the dragon, is sort of how this Weeba Beast is constructed. But it has a terrifying face where we just see Gobo's face through the mouth of the Weeba Beast. And that's when the Fraggle horn sounds because Cantus is coming.
He's back, baby. He didn't bring any of his friends this time.
No, he left them behind. They also don't believe in the big bell.
Yeah.
At this point, Gobo's still just raining on everyone's parade, saying the festival of the bell is silly and a waste of time. And the legend doesn't make any sense, he says. One detail I really liked is when Gobo finds the map showing the center of the rock, he finds it in a box labeled very old stuff.
I like the thought that the Fraggles even have any kind of filing system at all. But
I assumed this was a box left behind by Uncle Traveling Matt.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Well, Wembley finds it, and then he shows him the map, and he's like, look, the center of Fraggle Rock is shaped like a bell. And then Gobo's like, aha, I found it.
Yeah.
You asshole.
Yeah, he even talks about, he's like, I've looked at this map a dozen times or whatever, and I don't know how to get there. And Wembley's like, well, maybe it's the bell-shaped thing? And Gobo's like,
yeah,
you're right, we found it. Good job, us.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's a joke about Gobo, but also it's just... He's such a dick.
Speaking of somebody maybe being a little bit of a dick, Red comes in and pushes Gobo, physically moves him out to the festival instead of listening to him about the bell cave. He's trying to tell her, hey, I found the cave. I'm going to go find the bell. And she's like, we got a festival to do.
Yeah, they got plans. And
part of that plan is to sing a song called There's a Promise. And I have missed good songs.
Me too. Songs that aren't doo-wop songs, which we get none of in this group.
Thank God.
Even that little bit of a doo-wop song in the interview with Kermit when they play the Muppet Take Manhattan thing, I was like, no, go away.
Do you think that's what set it all up?
Oh, absolutely. I must
was
be.
the fact that
must be like
I'm gonna always love you or whatever it's called was I'm gonna be a movie star. They were just like, okay, Muppet Babies, that's what it sounds like, everyone.
Yeah. I guess like that flashback was set in the 50s probably.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
That was the implication, was that like that's old music.
So Muppet Babies is the happy days of the Muppets.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of counterpoints to that, considering all the movies and everything they're referencing. But I like the idea. It'd be way more interesting if they said it in the 50s.
Yeah, but then what would Scooter's identity be? He wouldn't have a computer.
He'd have a big Mad Men computer the size of a room.
Yeah. He'd have to change like the vacuum tubes on it or whatever.
It'd take him a week to start it up.
Yeah.
While I did enjoy this song, I found the lyrics slightly menacing.
What were they?
It's mostly repetitive, but it says, there's a rhythm, there's a rising, there's a dream of green that needs to wake, a password and a promise that the earth will never ever break. It's coming, feel it humming, in the heart we share with rock and sky, so raise your voices high.
Yes, this sounds like a song that cultists would sing in like a Cthulhu book or something.
Yes, like if you sing this 8 times in a row, the earth awakes and swallows everyone.
Yeah, you don't want It's Coming to be a lyric in your song.
No. That's the one that got me. It was like when they said it's coming, feel it humming. I was like, oh God, what is attacking them? Is the Weeva Beast going to kill them? But no, I think it's just like the earth won't break if we do this thing.
Yeah.
So
it's the coming and humming, the It's the joy in their hearts, I think, or something like that, right?
Yeah. It's not the earth
It's
consuming
nothing
everyone.
evil. It's not eldritch terror, Matt. Though I bet there are eldritch terrors down there somewhere.
Oh, man. Now I just want to play like a tabletop role-playing game of Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, where they get too deep into the rock.
Maybe we do that in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Candace tells us that the Weeva Beast guarded the bell when the rock was small, which is an interesting way to talk about the rock, that maybe they've been digging these tunnels out for years and the expanse of the rock used to be much, much smaller.
I guess I took it to mean that the rock is organic in some way and is actually growing bigger and bigger. That like they have to explore it so much because there's always new parts of it or something.
Well, he also tells us that now there's layers of stone covering the Great Bell. Yeah. And this is when I'm like, I feel like Cantus is hiding something. He says he's never seen the Great Bell. Mm-hmm. He alludes, but he seems to know a lot about it, having not been there or seen it. Yeah. And so I had to assume at this point that he was definitely hiding something from them.
And I guess he is, because he knows it's not there.
Right. But also, why is that door there? Which I guess we'll get to. But
that was weird, yeah.
But yeah, this is a very big lore dump episode for Fraggle Rock. They're trying to explain a lot to us about the past of Fraggle Rock and this idea that if they ring their bells in the Great Hall, then the giant Great Bell will ring, and then that warms up Fraggle Rock so it doesn't all freeze to death.
When I suppose it would be enough to just say you have to ring your bells or you'll freeze to death. I don't know why they would have a problem with that. Like why this was invented in the first place.
I mean, that feels like one of those things that's harder to believe, maybe, if there's not a reason that's happening.
Yeah, but like you said, no harder to believe than you have to sing or else the lights will go out and we'll all sleep forever. It's basically the same thing.
I guess you're right. Well, Gobo wants to find the bell to prove that the festival means something, but as everyone points out, mostly Cantus, it already does mean something to everyone else.
Yep.
You're the only one that it doesn't mean anything to. Mm-hmm. And for a moment, because he says this a few times, he tells them to wait for him until they ring the bells. Like, I'm going to go prove this first. I'll come back. Don't ring the bells until I get back. And he's like 5 times, he says, don't worry, I'll be back in time. Don't worry, I'll be back in time. I'll be back in time. I was like, is he going to go back in time? Like, part of me thought something was going to happen at the center of the rock where he was going to like time warp back and see the initial bell ringing and what set this all up or something.
Right.
That is not at all what happens. Spoiler alert. But the way he said the words, I'll be back in time, so many times, I was like, maybe he's going to time travel.
That would have been amazing. I would love to, even if nobody time travels, it would be great to see an episode of Fraggle Rock set like a couple hundred years before this.
I don't know if we're getting a couple hundred years, but I know we definitely have some flashback episodes coming up. I think we get a Uncle Traveling Matt flashback episode at some point in season 3.
Okay.
Up in the real world, I guess Fraggle Rock's the real world. Up in Doc's world, we get a piñata because he wants to celebrate multiple cultures this Christmas. And so he blindfolds Sprocket, hands him a stick, and lets him go at that piñata.
Yeah, and I really had the thought how he's got to be careful not to hit Doc. And then I remembered, oh yeah, there's a guy down there who can see.
Yes. Who has a monitor. But still, you're swinging that stick in a mirrored version of a monitor. So you do have to be careful not to hit that old man in the head with a stick.
Yeah. It's just a little skinny PVC pipe, though. So I think he would have been okay.
That would not be fun to be hit with, though.
It would sting for sure.
And we go back down to Fraggle Rock, where Moki, doesn't see the end of the world as necessarily a bad thing. She says, gee, I wonder what it's like being frozen forever.
Very optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a new experience.
Cantus leaves to find Gobo and has a delightful line where he says, he may be as determined as he is wrong.
Yeah, I like that too. Jim is so good at being a dumb blowhard who is also like right about stuff, but
occasionally by accident is sort of like Cantus's thing. Like this is the most right he's ever been about things.
That's true, yeah.
And right as the Fraggles are all about to freeze to death, Gobo tries to warm himself up by reading an Uncle Traveling Matt postcard. But we do get to see Uncle Traveling Matt disguising himself as a present to observe Christmas traditions.
Yeah, and he thinks they're boring.
Yeah, and he also pretty much says Santa's not real.
He does. I thought for sure Santa was going to show up and he'd be like, hey, those are my cookies. But He doesn't. He just says, I sat down there all night and nothing happened.
There's a delightful illusion at the beginning, though, because you just see some kids walking around a Christmas tree. There's a bunch of gifts around, and you hear Uncle Traveling Matt's voice talking about observing the Christmas tradition, and he sneezes, and you just see one of the boxes by the tree shake.
Uh-huh.
But yes, Uncle Traveling Matt eats the cookies and the milk, thus keeping the illusion alive, but ruining it for everyone watching the episode.
I think he bothered me less this batch for two reasons. One, my standards are just different now that Muppet Babies is part of our lives.
There's a new low bar.
Yeah. And number two, this season has really leaned into everybody else hates the postcards too.
Not
like
just Red.
There's like a point in an upcoming episode where Gobo brings one out to read, and there's like these little cave creatures near him, and they're also like, no, please, God, no. Which I would feel bad maybe a little bit if I was like the producer of the Matt segments or something. I'd be like, oh, you make me make these.
Yeah. Well, getting back to the action that's about to freeze to death, they keep saying, what if the rock stops? And it's a really threatening thing to say, but we also don't really know what it means.
Yeah.
Other than, I guess, freezing to death. But I'm picturing, I don't know, did you ever watch Lost?
No.
No, there's a thing in Lost where there's this big old wooden wheel that has to be turned at the center of the island kind of thing. And this made me feel like there was like a big physical thing that was like a big rock in the middle of Fraggle Rock that was spinning.
Yeah.
And if it slowed down too much, it would
and it couldn't
kill
be
everyone.
like the whole Earth, or else I feel like we would be up going up and Doc would be like, oh, sure, it's getting cold out there, Sprocket. But it's just whatever pocket dimension they live in or something like that.
Yeah. There is a lack of interaction between the Doc world and the Fraggle world in this episode that is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
I liked this episode a lot. I just feel like it doesn't have the best payoff.
Yeah. It would be alarming if the reveal was that the Fraggles are responsible for keeping the Earth spinning and all of us alive.
See, I thought there was going to be a flip side where it ended up that on the solstice every year is when Doc turns his heat on or something.
Oh my God. That would have been smart, but it also would have been against the point of the episode. No, maybe not.
We've had similar things with the pipes before and the water stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like it wouldn't be too outside the realm of, maybe bells, like he hears an alarm and that's the bells. And he's like, oh, it's time to turn the heat on, Sprocket.
Yeah, and like his heater thumps or something. It's like, dong.
Right. And they're like, oh, the great bell has rung.
Damn, that would have been good.
Well, because he even rings a big bell at the end, but it doesn't seem to be the great bell. Like they don't seem to hear it in Fraggle Rock. So it's a little disjointed. But we're skipping to the end. First, we have Red going to ring her bell. She's given up on Gobo, but she freezes halfway to her bell.
It's horrifying.
Almost as horrifying is Cantus appearing in a bright light to Gobo and just saying, listen.
Yeah, how do you do that? Is Gobo just dying?
Maybe. He's just delirious at this point.
Yeah. And what he's telling him to listen to is a ringing, but it's a old metal circle hitting against the cave wall. And this is when it starts getting a little bit weird, confusing.
Right. So it's just like the door handle on this big stone door. And Cantus says, you've reached your goal. Let's go back. And tries to tell Gobo, you don't need to bring the bell to them. They already have it.
Yeah. And the ring thing, like the ring hitting the wall is almost supposed to, I feel like there's a suggestion that is the ringing for a moment.
Well, it also is like, again, just what is Cantus hiding? Because when you reach the center of the rock, you see a door with a handle on it.
Yeah, all right.
Where he told you layers of stone have covered the center of the rock, and you go there and there's just a door ready to be opened, and he's like, "Yay, good job! Let's go. Let's get out of here."
Yeah.
I understand the poetic nature of like you don't need to bring them the bell because they already have it.
Right.
But the idea, like that's never going to work on Gobo.
Right. And the fact that there is something there is so suspicious that, Cantus really should he's got to go get rid of that door or something. He'll just confuse people.
Right. If it had just been an empty cave at the center with no door whatsoever and they walked in.
Yeah. Or else it's the door's there to teach him a lesson. or something.
Like that's fully him not trusting, not having faith is like, no, I have to open the door. I don't trust you, Cantus.
Yep.
This cave does apparently exist purely as a test because he goes in, there is no bell, it was all a lie. Cantus seems really mad at Gobo at this point.
Yeah.
That he decided to open the cave door, but I couldn't quite understand why he was so upset with Gobo. I guess he was really hoping to get through to Gobo.
But the difference between him believing what Cantus is saying and not believing is so minimal.
Yeah.
Because he can still ring the bell and save the day.
But they come back to tell everyone, and everyone is frozen. And they have weird grayed out pupils.
Yeah, they have corpse faces.
Yeah, very, very dead-looking Fraggles here. And this is when Cantus sort of lays down the law and says, well, what's different this year? Why did the rock stop, Gobo? And Gobo has to accept the truth that, well, we didn't ring our bells.
Yeah.
And, this episode ends up being mostly about faith. And, it may not make sense, but if it works, it works.
Yep.
So Gobo and the other Fraggles start to ring their bells. Boober's bell is like a little broken, which was a very fun little detail. It just makes a little like thunk noise while everyone else is ringing. And they accept the fact that it's our music that keeps the rock alive because they are the heart of Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, why is that a secret from them though?
Maybe Cantus just forgot to tell them previously.
Maybe he forgot the reason.
Or he's making this shit up as he goes along.
Or that, yeah.
And this is where we sort of try and make a connection happen, but it doesn't really actually happen because we cut back to Doc and Sprocket where church bells are ringing. And they're pointing out the door, like at the church bells, and you might think that's the great bell. Maybe it's not. Then Doc rings his own giant bell that he's apparently had the entire time and says Merry Christmas. And then we get another performance from the Fraggles.
A non-standard credits.
But yeah, what'd you think of the episode overall?
I liked this one. I think it's a great Christmas episode. I don't think it was created to have the scrutiny put upon it that we did.
No,
definitely.
No. Nothing is.
But I do like your idea. I always like it when you or I have ideas that ties it more into like the real world above them. Because like that's still just as mystical and like, I don't know. I don't think it would have ruined the message of the episode to have Doc be the person who's like saving them or anything like that. Because they still don't know. It's still like fundamentally a mystery to them and it still is something they have to operate on by faith.
Yeah. No, it reminds me a little bit of... So on the YouTube channel I work on, Journey to the Microcosmos, we're constantly looking at little microbes, and we will talk about how we're observing them, and they have no idea we exist, or that we're watching them, or we're talking about them. And invariably, we always get a comment from somebody being like, what if we're on a microscope and there's giants observing us and we don't know they're talking about us right now?
I bet you never even thought of that, man.
Right. And so it's that sort of thing where it's like, the simulation theory or whatever you like want to believe in. If there's like somebody out there bigger than us going like, yes, let's tweak this knob, and suddenly they believe in Christmas. Right. So yeah, I don't think it does ruin things by having Doc be the reason for things, because I think we see that in Uncle Traveling Matt constantly, where the reports he gives back about the real world are all based on things that we know are nonsense, but the Fraggles are like, wow, fascinating.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think a lot about how like things could constantly always be changing, like in the past, and how it's just like we believe in what we believe in now, but who's to say that like literally like yesterday there was like dinosaur people, and then somebody like went back in time and got rid of all the dinosaur people, and then so as far as we know, it's just always been like this. You know what I mean?
I mean, I kind of do as much as I can.
I think about that a lot.
Multiple timelines?
Yeah. Or no, just one timeline that just keeps changing. So our the way that we experience reality is different, but we never know that.
Right.
Yes. Anyway, I gave that episode a 3.5 out of 4 stars. Because that is like something that I maybe would add to my Christmas episode rotation. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I think I was hoping for just a little bit more out of the ending from it, but I think overall it's a very good thing to watch at Christmas time. But next up, we have the January 7th, 1985 episode, Red-Handed and the Invisible Thief, written by Robert Sandler, directed by Terry Maskell. Doc is watching the inn across the street with his binoculars. We learn he did get the job as the assistant manager. I don't know if we've had that confirmed previously. Maybe.
Oh, well, in the last episode, he said that Senor Gomez from the inn gave him the piñata. So I guess you could assume maybe he just goes and hangs out at the inn. But
Well, and I feel like at the end of his application job interview episode, maybe there was an implication that he did get the job, but it was sort of back and forth where Miss Ardath thought he was overqualified, and then he was like, I'm not. I can fix pipes.
I'm mad, I'm mean, I'm nasty.
Yeah.
And then at the very end of the episode, he's like, I'm going to go hit on her now. So, he might have got fired right away, too.
Mm-hmm. But he sees some people picking up some furniture and says that Miss Ardath did not tell him that people were going to be coming to pick up furniture while she was on vacation. So he's going to keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
Because maybe the inn is being robbed. And in that moment, Sprocket puts on a Viking helmet and picks up a sword so he can be backup for Doc to confront the, quote, big guys across the street.
Sprocket seems desperate for bloodshed in this episode.
And apparently they're going to quietly sneak over and observe what these dudes are doing. But down the rock, everyone is sleeping. But the problem with Fraggles when they sleep is most of them don't have eyelids. And so there's one Fraggle in particular, if you look in the way back, who has no eyelids and is just doing like the snoring motions, but they're just staring the entire time at the camera.
Maybe they
pretty
have
much
those lids like beavers do, the clear one.
Either way, it's creepy.
Yeah.
Most of the Fraggle puppets have their heads sort of tilted back or to the side, so we don't see their eyeballs when they're supposed to be sleeping.
Right.
But this one is just like in the back, staring down at everyone else, but still moving like he's snoring, and it's unsettling.
Also, I think we've seen this before, but it's like more confirmation that most of them just have to sleep on the ground wherever they are.
Yeah, they don't get homes.
In a big pile. Only Red and Gobo and Moki and Wembley get homes.
And we get to see that Red and Moki are still in their apartment cave up above the Great Hall, which I think we had questioned whether we would ever see that again after they moved in.
After they had such a bad time of it to begin with.
And even Lanford is still there, the talking plant.
I love that guy.
But Red wakes up everyone in the rock with a scream because she's been robbed of her radish bars. And she immediately accuses Lanford, the living plant, because why wouldn't you?
Fair enough, he's just a big mouth.
And then she yells out at all the Fraggles, and she wants to investigate and question every Fraggle in the rock.
I just don't think that's a ridiculous premise. From her standpoint, I don't think a lot of things probably get stolen in Fraggle Rock.
No, and maybe that's what would have made this episode slightly more interesting.
Yeah.
Is if like the idea of crime in Fraggle Rock was so unthinkable.
Yeah.
That everyone was like a little upset by that, not even just these like specific theft.
Oh, yeah. And then like a episode about like, this would be not something they would do in the 80s, but just like an episode about overreaction to very teeny tiny crime statistics and like the police state and stuff. But we weren't ready to talk about that yet. We still got Doc upstairs saying there's some suspicious looking characters across the street.
Yeah. Well, we learn through this investigation that Gobo is allergic to radish bars.
I mean, it must be something else in them because that fool's eating radishes all the time, I'd assume.
Yeah, there's got to be some binding agent.
Pectin or something, yeah. The hog's hooves.
Wembley and Boober are hanging out with Laundry again, talking about magic soap bars that for a while in this episode, I'm like, that was a weird non sequitur where they're just talking about soap for a while.
The fact that it's soap that when you dip it in water, it makes this image appear. And the fact that it was red, immediately I was like, red-handed. That's going to be pretty on the nose.
You're smarter than me, Sam. I didn't even think it was going to connect. I was like, that won't be important.
It would be quite strange, I suppose, if you were just like, what an odd moment. But it was also maybe the happiest I've ever seen Boober in my entire life.
Well,
I think
also you
Boober
invent a
loves
soap
it.
that makes things messier.
That was weird. Sure.
Like magic soap should make things cleaner, not like add an image to things.
I think it goes away when it's dry. That was my impression.
I just don't get the point of the invention.
Well, it's like like when you go to the beach and there's like a tourist. Like I feel like there's beach shirts that like you get in the sun and they like change colors.
Okay.
So it's And they love swimming, so
All
could
right.
just be some fun, you know. I don't know. Leave him alone. He's having a good day.
It just felt weird that he
soap.
invented a soap that makes adds something to the clothes instead of just gets them cleaner.
Yes, you would think that he would put this stuff in the water and be like, this is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
No one can ever know about this evil soap. But he's just having fun with his friend Wembley.
And then we get a song that kind of comes out of nowhere, but I'm happy it did because it's so good. And it's called Sweet, Sweet Little Treat.
Yeah.
And it's basically just about, hey, you having a bad day? Eat some candy.
Easy candy's pretty good, isn't it?
And I mean, a lot of us, at least in our 30s, have been there.
Oh, absolutely.
Where it's like, I deserve a treat today because I mowed the lawn.
Yeah. I like to eat a big bunch of bread. That's my sweet little treat.
Bread?
Yeah.
Sam.
Like a sourdough bread. Yum, yum.
No, you skipped right to your 40s. No, this is a great song about a great thing in life. Just giving yourself a sweet treat when you had a bad day.
Yeah. Or when you do a good job.
Yeah. Just reward yourself anytime you want. A little sweet treat.
Sometimes I buy a little bag of sweet tarts when I'm like, I actually did work today. I'm going to eat some sweet tarts.
When if I ever go to Starbucks and pick up drinks for me and my wife, I usually will get myself a cake pop.
Oh,
for my troubles.
You can't. Hard to resist, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They're just sitting right there.
Yeah. Be like, oh yeah, I need these drinks, and then maybe a birthday cake pop. It's fine. Yeah. If it's not a trouble, I guess I'll take a birthday cake pop.
Yeah. Or you just come to in your car and you have a birthday cake pop. And you're like, what?
One in each hand. I'm like, oh god.
What did I do?
Getting back to the episode, Red wants to set a trap for the thief with Moki's radish bars. I put in my notes, at this point, I'm assuming Red sleepwalks and ate the bars.
Yeah. I was half split between, I was pretty sure Red definitely did it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also split between maybe Moki did do it and there's going to be some kind of tearful confession eventually. Because Moki was acting very suspicious, but...
Yeah. Well, I think that the title, too, being red-handed and the invisible thief,
right.
I was like, there's probably a double meaning in this with the red-handed thing.
Right.
You don't put the name of a Fraggle in the title without it probably mattering.
Yeah. It's a bad title for an episode.
Oh, absolutely.
I thought, so in my head, sometimes when I see these titles, I'm like, ooh, this is going to be this. I thought she was going to become like a pirate thief, you know, like a legendary, like a... Who's
Dread
that
Pirate
guy?
Roberts?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought she would be like a Robin Hood type, like, I'm red-handed.
That'd be fantastic. I wouldn't mind that at all. But getting back to Doc's world, he's called the police to report the crime happening across the street. So it seems like he didn't confront the thieves. He just snuck up and kept an eye on them.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they didn't see an old man and a dog with a sword and a helmet. But Doc does report the two suspicious characters.
I mean, it's also within his right as an employee of the inn, I feel like, to be like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Oh,
right?
absolutely. I think it's just because they're he said he described them as big guys.
Yeah,
so I think he's
true.
just afraid to confront them face to face. But Sprocket is not, and Sprocket takes off, charging the thieves. And then we get back down to Fraggle Rock, where Red has made a great-looking trap. But while Red and Moki are napping, someone sneaks in. Then we see a big creepy shadow on the wall. But they are not caught by the trap, and this makes Red accuse Moki because the only person who could have stole it had to have already been in the room.
When you eliminate the impossible, only the possible remains or whatever, Sherlock Holmes said.
Is that Occam's razor, Murphy's Law? Which one of those?
Murphy's Law is whatever the worst thing that can happen will happen, I think is what Murphy's Law is. And
so Occam's razor is the one I'm thinking about.
Occam's razor is the simplest answer, is the correct one, which is probably the same thing as what Sherlock Holmes said, yeah.
Well, Red is still thinking it might be Moki. Moki is upset at this point, but Red is determined to get the trap to work, so she borrows a couple of Wembley's radish bars as bait this time and uses them while Gobo hides inside a giant rock costume to catch the thief. This felt like a little bit of a stretching for time plot point.
Yeah.
Partially because it was like his plan was to sit there in case anyone walked by, and then he would jump out, I guess, or
How
watch
did
for
he
them.
miss it?
Well, because nobody walked by. He was watching the doorway to see if who came into the room.
I get it.
So he also didn't see anyone come in or out, which reinforces the idea that it must have been Moki to Red.
I feel like we've had another episode with Red. Maybe it was when they're running the races or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like they do the same thing 3 times. And it's like, we could have done the same thing 2 times.
It was
and
training Wembley for the race, I think, where they were just like,
Yeah.
no, let's do another race that's more fair than the last race. Don't
Right.
blow it this time.
And then that race ends up ultimately being completely unimportant to the plot.
Right. Well, at this point in the episode, Gobo wants to kill some time with a postcard reading. And this is Uncle Matt being confused in outer space by clocks
Yeah.
that he thinks tell direction because he sees people walking, look up at them, and then head off very determined.
Not a ridiculous assumption, I suppose.
If they changed direction after looking at the clock,
Yeah.
maybe he'd be onto something.
Yeah.
But like this could be any sign or anything
Mm-hmm.
because they just walk, look, and keep walking. I was trying to figure out where he is in this, and I'm wondering if it's like Austria or Germany or something like that.
Oh, this is one where he's like in a Bavarian village kind of thing? Is
Yeah,
that
but
right?
then there's
He's
like
got like a
a
Tyrone
bar or a
hat on.
restaurant there that's got an Italian name on it. But the rest of it looks sort of Eastern Europe. Like, I don't really know where this is, but it was not easy to figure out.
I was assuming Germany. They're
Yeah.
allowed to have Italian restaurants in Germany, Matt.
But they also, I know, they did a trip to Austria in the past, I believe, that we talked about for some reason. So I'm
yeah.
wondering if it's somewhere in their
Right.
European trip.
When they went skiing or something? Maybe?
think
Is that
so.
it? Yeah.
But he ends up buying a watch from what seems like a fancy watch store. I'm not really sure how he afforded
I don't know,
that.
has money.
Yeah. But it doesn't work for him, so he just destroys it.
He stomps on it.
Stomps on it real good. Wembley discovers his bars were stolen because, well, they weren't stolen, but Red took them.
Red kind of stole them.
Yeah. And then Red comes out to tell Gobo that the radish bars were stolen that she used as bait, but he didn't see anybody going in or out. And this is the moment where, like, well, it definitely is Moki. Now let's take her to the Eminent Council of Sages, which is apparently made up of the first 3 Fraggles who show up.
Yeah, but these guys seem like they got a whole shtick figured out. It seems like they're just camping out there waiting.
Yeah, there's some weird jester guys.
Lambo and Hambo.
Lambo, Hambo, and then a third one.
Just a sleeping one. Yeah.
And they sing the hum song, Hold Each Other's Noses.
Yeah, and they wake the sleeping one up for a beautiful solo.
This was the moment in this episode where I was like, what's happening? Why is this happening? Who are these people?
Yeah, I thought they were going to be like, and here's the stages, but then it was just like, oh, it's you guys.
It's the 2 biggest idiots in Fraggle Rock.
Yeah. And Muppet Wiki also points out that like they're oddly competent for a a governing body in Fraggle Rock, even
Yeah.
though they're like the most outwardly dumb looking guys we've seen so far.
Right, but yes, they actually do a good job of managing this case. Well, during that song, there's one of them, the one that was sleeping, who has a surprisingly good voice. And once again, that's because Sharon Lee Williams is the singer behind this character, who we also mentioned back when we saw Aretha the Minstrel, who we were like, whoa, that one minstrel has a really good voice.
Yeah.
And apparently if they let Sharon Lee Williams sing for a Fraggle, we're going to be shocked by how good the voice is.
Yeah.
But they say something that's a little mean to Red, where they're like, those shifty eyes, that weak jaw. She's got thief written all over her.
Of any of them, I would think she would be the one who'd be like the shoplifter, maybe.
But just like, because she gets a thrill out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, what? We all
Definitely.
steal, right? We all
She
take a
is the
little something.
She's the shiftiest one of them all, for sure. They are right about that. Moki does have the robes with the pockets, probably. She could probably hide some stuff in.
No, she's
if
the one
in
who
a
could get
convenience
away
store.
with it the easiest, but she doesn't
Right.
necessarily use that power. Well, even though I enjoyed their song, I am very glad to learn that Lambo and Hambo never return.
Oh, that kind of makes me sad.
I don't know. I don't like this
I
console.
like them.
They were effective, but I don't like this console as opposed to like the world's oldest Fraggle. I don't think we need an effective console in Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, that is true. It makes it a little confusing. Like, you shouldn't trust any system but the criminal justice system. Maybe. I don't know.
Which is run by idiots.
Yeah. It does muddle the concept of Fraggle Rock a bit, yeah.
But they dismiss the case against Moki and charge Red with false accusation. And Red is determined to prove it once and for all that it is Moki. So when she
Is there a punishment for that charge? Or they just say,
I think it's
don't
maybe
do
going to
it?
be sentencing later on.
oh, okay.
But Red
She got a court date.
Yeah. But Red puts 4 more of Wembley's radish bars out to trap Moki. And this time, She's determined to use Boober's magic soap to catch the thief red-handed. And we see the creepy shadow hand creeping in and stealing them once again. But this time, Wembley stayed in the room and was awake for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he tries to warn Red as she drags Moki down to the console to prove, hey, the thief struck again. Here she is. Wembley's being the good friend, trying to step in and say, hey, I really have to talk to you before you go do this. But she, of course, doesn't listen. And this is when she finds out that she was the one the whole time, stealing and eating all the radish bars.
Fine episode. That's just such an obvious, also, a little bit later than you, I was just like, this is absolutely, there's no other thing that could have happened but this. They don't have time for it to be anyone else anymore.
Well, and they don't, if they had introduced like a new shifty Fraggle to the Rock, where it's like, oh, it's clearly that guy.
Yeah, Wendell, what's his name? What's the evil Fraggle's name? Marlin Fraggle's the creepy one.
Oh, yeah. Marlin's the one who went with Red to see the sea dragon.
Yeah.
And wanted to make T-shirts and start a whole venture.
Right. If Marlin had been walking around during this episode, everybody would have said, Marlin probably did it. Let's just throw him in the hole.
Not again.
In the hole.
Marlin, who will come back, not this season, but he'll be back in seasons 4 and 5. To wrap up the episode, the council calls for lunch. And Red's like, well, I just had 10 radish bars, so I'm not hungry, which is something she apparently didn't realize previously, that she was full of food this whole time. And in Doc's world, we find out that Miss Ardath's brother was the one moving the furniture.
Yeah, Miss Ardath's a bad manager, maybe, is what the lesson of this is.
Or maybe Doc doesn't really have any responsibilities as the assistant manager. He's just like, yeah, sure, come by, fix the pipe sometimes. You're in charge while I'm gone.
Yeah. I think I'd give that one 2.5 stars.
That seems fair. Don't want to forget, though, to mention that Sprocket does take a bite at Miss Ardath's brother's leg, tears some of his pants off, and now he wants to press charges against the wild dog who tore a piece of his pants off.
Sprocket's a wanted man now.
But Doc doesn't put 2 and 2 together, so he doesn't realize Sprocket is the wild dog.
That he's harboring a criminal.
And the last episode we watched this week was Boober and the Glob. If last episode was a terrible name, this is maybe one of the best Fraggle Rock names.
Yeah, this one's great. Yeah.
This one aired on January 14th, 1985, was written by Jocelyn Stevenson, and is the last episode of Fraggle Rock directed by Jim Henson. Muppet Wiki notes a few things about this episode. This one is apparently the only interaction in the series between Boober and Cotterpin.
Oh.
And there's a very lengthy note here that I did not pick up on in the episode, but apparently the background music for Uncle Matt's postcard changes in this episode. In previous episodes, there was a different instrumental during his narration. Beginning in this episode, Matt gets a background theme called All Around the World that had already been used in the UK versions of his postcards during the first and second season.
I can't picture what his music sounded like before or this time.
Yeah, it blends into the background so much that I clearly didn't go, wait a minute, this is different.
You want to know the only music I can think of right now? The Bulk and Skull background music. Which honestly would work for Uncle Traveling Matt, I think, as he's bumbling around.
Just trips into a pie or something.
He is always getting lots of macaroni and cheese dumped on his head.
Well, even weirder than the idea of Uncle Traveling Matt replacing Bulk and Skull on Power Rangers is Doc having an assignment to write an article about cats.
Who gave him this assignment?
Who is this article for? He's never...
What new information could he learn about cats?
Well, and the only time we've ever heard about him contributing to something was a tinkering magazine, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's the only associations we've had Doc have is with tinkerers or the hotel, like the bed and breakfast. Right. And so to suddenly have him writing an article about cats and never saying why he's doing it or who it's for.
Yeah.
I was so confused.
Yeah. Maybe he's populating Wikipedia at the very beginning. He's going through the whole alphabet of everything that has ever existed on cats.
That would honestly make more sense because he doesn't know anything about cats whatsoever, it turns out. And the things he decides to write down for his article are like, oh, cats have claws. It's like, what is this article, Doc?
Cats are from prehistory, my friend. We know they have claws.
Well, it quickly.
Maybe Fluffinella is the only cat in the whole universe in this reality.
But it also shifts weirdly where he's like, I don't know anything about cats. I need to write an article about cats. I got to focus. And then switches it to say, well, how am I going to find out weird things about cats today? And so is the article about cats in general, or is it just weird things to know about cats?
That sounds like a BuzzFeed article.
15 weirdest things about cats.
He's got to write some clickbait articles. He's making 15 cents a word.
And they've run out of everything else that they've ever written about. So the last thing that's left is, I guess, cats?
He's making the first funny cat video.
Well, but he doesn't know anything about cats, but he knows somebody who does, and that's Ned Schimmelfinney, who has a cat named Fluffinella that he asks to borrow for the afternoon. And there's a knock at the door shortly thereafter. Ned's here, but he just tosses Fluffinella into the workshop and leaves immediately. And this is the start of Fluffinella's attack on Sprocket. Down in Fraggle Rock, Boober is awoken and says, it's today. I have to get out of here before it's too late. Because it turns out it's joke day, the day where you have to be silly and joke all day. So Boober is running away so he doesn't have to do the traditional medley of knock-knock jokes.
If I was Boober, I would do exactly the same thing.
Oh, yeah. If all your friends were like, hey, we're pulling pranks today. Get in the car.
Yeah. Joke day is annoying.
Especially because there's maybe one joke said by anybody who's not Boober in this episode. As Boober's running out, he trips over Cotterpin's vehicle and breaks it in the process.
Yeah.
And Boober is very upset to have to interact with the Doozer at first.
He's so rude to Doozers. He's the rudest of anybody we've ever seen, I think. Mm-hmm. And he's the slowest to warm up to them, too. Because usually the other people are just like, once the Doozer's like, hey, what's up? I have a conscience also. They go, oh, cool. We're friends now. But Boober's just like, fuck off, you little scumbag.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not just a Doozer, I'm Cotterpin. He's like, ugh, don't tell me it has a name. And she says, too late, I already told you.
Yeah, he's horrible. And she's so cool, too.
Cotterpin, I think we ranked her really, really high when we talked about her. But Cotterpin continues to be amazing in this episode.
Her bike is awesome, too. I know she's had it before, but she's got a styling bike.
I liked seeing Boober sit on the ground at Cotterpin's level.
Yeah.
The puppetry there was very cool.
I liked at the end when it's his full body and she's standing on a rock and he's like bending over, kind of talking to her. I thought that was really good too. Yeah,
we see some interesting, unconventional Muppet setups in this one where we have like the little Doozer who's being controlled by a couple cables and a trigger, and then you have the full hand puppet Boober right next to it. But this is when the Glob approaches, which is maybe just a couple dudes in a big ball.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe at least one dude, maybe two, inside of a big foam ball, just kind of walking it like a hamster.
Yeah. And then somebody doing the mouth. One guy going, blah, blah, one guy doing the mouth. Yeah. The Blob just kind of jump scares him out of nowhere, too, basically, right?
Yeah, there's no setup for the Glob.
Nothing calls the Glob or anything, yeah. I love the Glob because the Blob is one of my favorite movies, the old one. And this is like that. It's the same blob, basically. And it's glowing with like the same pink light that the Blob glows with. I liked it.
Well, when it first showed up, it's kind of funny because the Fraggles, the other Fraggles, when they learn about the Glob from Boober, Gobo says, just because you say it's horrible doesn't mean it is. And Red actually says, in fact, that means it probably isn't. And so I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe the Glob is just here because it's hungry or it needs something else. Like when that one monster was chasing the wizard who looked like Wembley.
Because he stole something.
Right.
From him.
I thought this was like another scenario like that where, okay, we all think this thing's a threat. It's actually, we can handle this very easily. We'll figure it out. But kind of no, the Glob is just going to eat everyone.
The Glob is evil. Yeah. The Glob only really is interested in eating Doozers, but...
Well, they're smaller and easy.
Evil. Yeah.
This is when Boober runs in to tell them about the Glob, which aligns with sort of the stories they've been telling in their song. And so they're like, that's not a good joke. But thankfully, this isn't one of those episodes where we have to wait and nobody believes him for too long because they all go back to the Great Hall and immediately see the Glob.
They just see the Glob and they're like, I think the Glob is neat.
Red jumps up on it and bounces on it, which it's a living being.
Cool too. Well, I don't know how the puppeteering on that is interesting too because I guess she's just a marionette, but she looks very good.
I was thinking maybe they did a blue screen situation.
Oh, yeah. I guess that could be.
But I didn't watch it that closely to figure it out. But yeah, it is you see a full-body red Fraggle jumping up and down on the Glob. Boober trips over Cotterpin again and says, "Oh, no, not another doozer."
Fuck off. Oh, yeah, that's like the rudest thing you can say.
Because he keeps forgetting her immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, he does follow it up by saying, "You're just a doozer, what do you know?" So he just continues to be extremely rude to her.
A dickhead.
And in the background is when we see the Glob eat its first doozer and spit out a helmet.
Kind of horrible. But then immediately he is like, "Get me out of here." So you know that unlike the Blob, he was not disintegrated instantly.
Yeah, no, we have to make sure the kids know the doozer is still alive inside the Glob.
Cotterpin's mom isn't dead.
Well, she hasn't been eaten yet.
Right.
Because first we have an Uncle Traveling Matt, which is maybe my favorite, or at least one of my favorite Uncle Traveling Matts we've ever seen. This one where he talks about the silly creatures have large caves called houses. These houses must be fed. And every morning a house feeder with special house food feeds the houses, which is a newspaper delivery person on their bike. And yeah, I just thought this was one of those where it felt more believable than some of the other ones to me.
Right. It's not as much of a stretch. Even if it is stupid, it's not that stupid.
And I like the fact that his instinct is to help because one of the newspapers doesn't make it all the way to the house. So he picks it up and like shoves it in the mail slot. And he's like, "I'm feeding the house."
A rare, unselfish moment from Traveling Matt.
Yeah.
Maybe on another day he would have taken a bite of the newspaper.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That's the root. That's the Matt I know.
Right. He would typically be like, I got a hold of one of these. And so I wanted to try it out to see how it tasted.
Yeah. Or maybe there's like a dog on the other side of the door who's like grabbing the paper, and then Matt's like, "Oh no, it's eating me, it's eating me."
Yeah, or somebody opens the door and he gets pulled in and he thinks he's being eaten by the house.
Basically, his adventures are never this wholesome. This is a wholesome adventure.
Which maybe is why I enjoy it more. But then, of course, he just falls down the stairs at the end. And I just love the idea again. They just throw that puppet.
He does get hurt very badly.
And this is when the Glob spits out Locke's vehicle. And this is when we find out that there's been multiple doozers now eaten. And it's confirmed to Cotterpin, who yells, "The Glob! It ate my friends!" And Boober leaves.
Yeah. Boober does not have time for this.
But Wingnut does, who comes by to see what's going on with Cotterpin and immediately gets eaten by the Glob.
Horrifying.
Yeah, we get, "Oh no, mother!" yelled by Cotterpin.
Not good. Genuinely, getting eaten is like one of my biggest fears.
I don't think you have to worry about it too much.
The movie, I think you've told me this exact thing before, but why the movie Nope scared me so bad is like, I don't want to get eaten. I don't want to see my mom get eaten, especially.
Well, she doesn't have to wait too long to be reunited with her because she calls out for Boober's help. Boober does not help, and the Glob eats Cotterpin.
He just actively pretty much says, "I am not helping you," right?
Right. But this is when he sees that happen and goes, "The Glob just ate Cotterpin."
Yeah.
And Cotterpin says, "At least he remembered my name."
It takes a lot to spur him into action, though. Seeing a living being eaten right before his very eyes.
Well, and he's still hesitant after this moment. He has watched this happen and has heard that it's happened multiple times now, and he's still like, "Oh,
but I might have to tell some jokes if I help."
Yeah. Save 5 lives, tell a joke. Oh, it's such a hard decision. Well, Doc is still taking notes on Fluffinella as Fluffinella is attacking Sprocket, and this is where he writes down, "Cats have sharp teeth," which is, I guess, a note that will be helpful in his article.
I suppose so.
Not really sure, again, what this article is about.
What the article is, or why you couldn't just read the dictionary or whatever. The encyclopedia, that's the one.
We get to see the doozers inside the stomach of the Glob, where we learn it's gooey, and it's getting gooier.
Gooier. What is that supposed to mean? That's scary.
Maybe saliva? Maybe, I don't know.
They're just being integrated into the
stomach acids?
Of the Blob. Yeah. It's not getting gooier. They're getting gooier.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, Boober says the words here. I know. I'll just pretend it isn't happening, and I'll just sneak away.
I love that.
He wants to be a bad person.
Yeah, he's trying really hard.
Yeah, he's trying really hard to be a bad person, but he just can't quite make it happen.
No.
And so this is when he realizes around this time that he needs to learn to tell some knock-knock jokes to get the Glob laughing. And it just kind of is a montage of knock-knock jokes.
Yeah.
And the doozers eventually pour out of the Glob's mouth.
And then what happens to the Glob?
The Glob
It
leaves.
just goes away?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, well, fine. I guess I can't get any food
I guess
here.
if you're going to make me vomit,
Yeah.
then I'll leave.
Yeah. And that's the, I think, again, an episode I loved with an ending that was just kind of like, oh, it's done. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what else you'd do except kill the kill the Glob.
I mean, why not? It
It is
ate
evil.
doozers.
It's going to go eat more doozers. They have to do something about this Glob.
They didn't really take time to get to know the Glob to see what it was really wanting. Like,
What its whole deal was.
could they have fed it some doozer sticks and it would have been like, oh, yeah, these are fine. I don't need to eat you guys.
In the movie The Blob, they spray it with some kind of freezing chemical. And then they bring it to the North Pole.
So if this would have been the Bells of Fraggle Rock episode, it would have been fine because he would have
The
just froze.
Glob would have died. Yep, exactly.
Well, Cotterpin thanks Boober, and he says, don't thank me. I tried to run away.
Yeah.
And they bond, and he promises to never forget her name again.
It kind of makes me sad that they're not going to interact again.
I know.
Because they seem like they were kind of tight.
Well, we've had that with Red and Cotterpin before, too, where
Yeah.
it's like we got the little friendly moment with them. And I think there was a follow-up where they were still
At this
knew
point,
each other.
I think they've had 2 adventures together.
Yeah. But up in Doc's world, we get to see the most terrifying mouse toy that's ever
Yeah,
existed.
Why did Doc build that?
He says it's Fluffanella's kind of mouse. So a monster of a
is this
cat,
supposed
I
to
guess,
mean?
deserves a monster mouse toy.
I guess that makes sense.
And then he confuses everything by saying that next week he has to give a talk on the common flea.
Where did he like scam his way into being like a professor or something?
Cat articles and flea lectures. I say, Doc, for whom?
Maybe he's going to vet school.
I guess that's the only thing that could be true.
Yeah. But I did really like the message of this episode because it's like a very clear, like, that you need to have the courage of your convictions to do something about, even if it inconveniences you, which I think, important, hard to live up to kind of thing. For that, I give it 3.5 stars.
Well, and confirmation that Boober is not a bad person is nice to see.
He's the best person of all of them. Wimbley's maybe a better person.
But Boober's more competent, so I feel like he often comes out on top in that, as far as caring about people and being able to get stuff done.
To be able to take action on it, yeah. The worst person is really a tie between all 3, Moki, Red, and Gobo. I don't know which one's the worst. They all instantly cave to power.
I think it might be Red.
I feel like Moki maybe is a slightly worse person than Red.
So I think the difference in my head is that Moki is often looking out for herself, which is a problem, obviously.
Yeah.
But Red is often trying to force other people to do things.
That's true, but Moki has also done that.
She's tried to lead them in like cult-like ways. But I feel like Moki, and this is, again, not saying one's better than the other, but Moki is doing it because she believes it's better for them. She is making their life better, she thinks. She's not doing it correctly, whereas Red is just, no, this is what I want to do, so I'm going to make you do it too.
Yeah, she's a shit stirrer.
Yeah.
That's true. She's like, she's got the Joker tendency to just do things to cause chaos.
Moki thinks she knows best for people. Red does not care what is better for other people.
Where does that put Gobo?
I think Gobo's a little bit in the middle of those two. Because I think he's done both of those types of things before, where he is like, well, everyone, I think this is how Fraggle Rock should operate, so this is how it's going to operate. I'm the leader. You made me the leader, so let's do it my way.
So a slightly worse person than Moki. He's more competent than
He's
Moki.
more competent. So I would say not worse. Depending on, I mean, the worse in this definition is a little muddy. But I guess if worse means who you wouldn't want in charge of something, I'd say Moki is lower down than he is on the ladder.
That's true. That's true. Because she's pure, thoughtless fascism, basically, when she gets into power.
Easily corrupted, I think.
Yeah.
But now it must be time for our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is Cantus, the leader of the minstrels on Fraggle Rock. There's not a lot to say about Cantus, as you might expect, but he is the orange, slightly furrier looking Fraggle with purple feathery hair and goatee. He often talks in the nonsense riddles that don't really mean much to anyone around him, except occasionally he touches on something important, like in this batch.
Yeah, it's also, it goes back and forth between that he doesn't know what he's talking about and he's the only one who knows what they're talking about.
Right. Like, I think it is one of those things where he has an unfortunate way of conveying these ideas, but he does have more knowledge about Fraggle Rock than a lot of other people.
Right.
Cantus made his debut in 1983 in Season 1, the episode appropriately titled The Minstrels, and he appears once per season, so we've only got 2 more Cantus appearances to check in on.
We knocked this one out early.
Mm-hmm. And this made me think of Convincing John, Jim Henson's other character, who thankfully we will see at least one more time. I think only one more time before our Fraggle Rock time is up. And I guess I just spoiled it there, but the performer of Cantus is Jim Henson. And yeah, only performer of Cantus outside of the animated series, where he is voiced by Bob Bergen. And although there is no Cantus in Back to the Rock, there is a similar character named Jamdalin, who is voiced by Davi Diggs and puppeteered by Andy Hayward.
And that's like a total reboot, right? Not a continuation.
Right. Yes, it is.
Okay.
There are things in there that are obvious callbacks. They sing some of the same songs again, but it is essentially a reboot where, you know, a lot of the relationships that are built or changed, those things aren't there. So that no one is like, hey, where's Cantus? Like,
Right.
Jamdalin just is the Cantus of Back to the Rock.
Okay.
In Latin, Cantus means song, so that's probably where they got that from. I think the only other, big fun fact about Cantus is that in California, near Casper Point in Casper, California, there is a Cantus Cove that you potentially could visit, although looking it up, it seems like it's a little treacherous to get down to the beach and the cove itself. There's a lot of signs of like, hey, cliff's gonna fall on your face, so don't go down here, please.
And it was named for the character.
Yes, because in the 1990s, Jerry and Susan Jewell had some property along the coast, and they dedicated some of their private land to be used for public access point to the cove down along the property. And so when it came time to place a sign that said, hey, access point this way, that's when they were like, hey, no one has named this cove yet. And so they had the opportunity to name it, and they named it Cantus Cove in honor of Jim Henson.
I like that they did that they donated that land
Yeah.
for public access too.
And you can go there. Again, I'm not advising it. It may be treacherous, but you can visit Cantus
We're gonna
Cove.
podcast from there.
It seems like it's going to be noisy. There's waves and wind, and
Relaxing. It'll be a go to sleep podcast.
while we cling for our lives to a cliffside.
We have crabs crawling all over us.
But that is all there is to know about Cantus. We've only got 2 more Cantus appearances to see. What would you rate Cantus out of 10 there, Sam?
I really, really love Cantus. I think he's a great vehicle for stories. I think, and follow along with me here, he looks like what I think Fraggles should look like. He looks done in a way that the other Fraggles look undone. Because he looks so much like a Michael Frith illustration
I gotcha.
that his face just looks like perfect. There's something to me that's so satisfying about looking at him and seeing his like little furry face that makes me wish the other Fraggles were just a little furrier and cuter like he is. And I like his like Dr. Teeth, his like granola Dr. Teeth energy. I also love that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And and I'm always delighted when he shows up. So I'm going to give him a 9.
Wow.
I don't know how much I've given anybody else at this
That
point.
sounds high.
But I love him.
We've done so many Muppets of the Week, Sam, like over 100 Muppets that,
Oh my
we
God.
can't remember what they've all been rated. Yeah, I was going to give him an 8. We don't get to see a lot of Cantus, but I have a soft spot for him just because I used so much of his dialogue when editing together that If Jim Henson Was Yoda video that I made.
Right.
That Cantus has been very helpful to me in that specific way.
He's made a big impact, positive impact in your life.
I like hear a line in an episode. I'm like, oh, that's where I got that one from.
Yoda said that.
Yeah, because previously it was purely I had never seen these episodes, so I just downloaded all the episodes that had Cantus in them and skimmed through all of his like audio to find Yoda-like phrases. So I didn't have any context for Cantus other than just his random sayings that I could use for Yoda.
That's why you're the best in the biz.
That's why nobody pays me to do that. But if somebody wants to,
It's all for the love of the
please.
game.
Well, it's about time to get out of here, Sam. But before we go, I got to ask, what non-Muppet things did you enjoy this week?
So I watched this movie just on a whim on Friday night called Working Girl. Have you heard of this movie? It has Melanie Griffith in it, and she's a secretary to Sigourney Weaver. She tells Sigourney Weaver an idea she has, a really good idea, and Sigourney Weaver is going to steal her idea, but breaks her leg skiing in the meantime. So then Melanie Griffith is like just in the office and pretending to be her own boss. And then eventually she meets Harrison Ford, and she tells him the good idea while pretending to be not a secretary.
Mm-hmm.
And then just it's office hijinks all up and down, and I love office hijinks. But it was really, really good. Like, I feel like it's kind of an unknown movie to some degree, but it's not. It's like, it was directed by the guy who directed The Graduate.
Yeah, Mike Nichols, who's done so many things, like The Birdcage and Closer and many, many, many other very good things.
So there's a lot of like interesting, it's like a pretty straightforward movie, but there's some interestingly like blocked scenes and like some, I don't know, some fun performances from like Joan Cusack. It's the kind of movie where you're watching and you're like, whoa, he's in it. Whoa, he's in it. So I'd recommend, I think you would like it.
It feels like one of those movies I've heard of, like mentioned 1,000 times, and I've never seen or knew anything about.
And that's it. What about you?
I've been watching season 3 of Staged, which is the show I think I talked about before. It's the David Tennant, Michael Sheen show that they started during lockdown times that was like recorded on webcams. And it's very good. And the other night, my wife mentioned like, hey, did we ever watch season 3 of that? And I said, they made a season 3 of that? And it turns out they put out a season 3 back in like October or November of last year, and I didn't know it existed. And so
was it still webcams?
So they changed the format a little bit this time, and it was only streaming. Speaking of random streaming apps that we talked about at the beginning of the show, on BritBox, which was not something that we had previously signed up for, but now we are for at least a trial.
I think that's probably my parents' most watched one.
To be fair,
because they love British crime procedurals.
Yeah, there is so many shows I've never heard of on this this platform, but it's like all the BBC shows that have been airing for 60 years.
Yeah, and sometimes you're like, they named a show that? Why would you ever name a show that?
There's a soap opera called Coronation Street that's been going for literally 63 years.
Whoa.
They have more episodes than Sesame Street.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think there's over 7,000 episodes of Coronation Street. But yes, so we downloaded BritBox and signed up to watch season 3. What's nice is there's like 8 episodes a season and they're 22 minutes long. So you watch one and you're like, well, do we just watch the rest of the season tonight?
Right.
So yeah, good show. Still good in season 3. I think this is the last season they're planning on doing. But I think they're going out with a bang. And now, it's time to let you know what we'll be watching next time. Because next time, we're continuing on with Fraggle Rock Season 3, finishing up January of 1985 and heading into February as we watch the next 3 episodes titled The Grapes of Generosity, Blanket of Snow, Blanket of Woe, and Pebble Pox Blues.
Oh, boy.
Sounds like a plague is coming for the Fraggles.
That sounds gross, yeah.
But we need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitment.com to see our faces, listen to episodes, buy some merch, all that good stuff. You can also contact us through that website or at mail@commitment.com if you have any questions or just thoughts about the podcast that you'd like to share. You can follow this podcast everywhere on the internet at Commitment Pod, and you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.